add all of the background vocals. And this, the power went out. Hey guys, I have some of the questions that you left for me here in a previous post, and I will answer them. The first one is by Oliver Klee, who says, it's a two-part question. I'd like to know how you record videos of you singing when there's no headphones or microphones visible. In that case, Oliver, what I do is I have the track pre-recorded. Everything is recorded, so I just, I pretend, like I lip sync, I pretend to play, and I'm actually playing and singing, but it's not the final recording that you will see along with the video. I just play and sing along to a pre-recorded track. So yeah, so if you don't see a microphone, if you don't see me wear headphones, I usually have the track on my phone and I play it back. I prefer to play it back on a Bluetooth speaker so that it's louder and so that I won't cover the recording with my own live voice to make sure I can still hear it. So that's what I do. I'm singing in my chair, sitting in my chair, and I have my phone here in my lap. And so when I'm about to start filming, then I just press play or rewind or something. And so yeah, back when I started the channel, like Dragonborn and Reignite and all those, the first several years, I used to record everything live. Not everything, I mean, the first take from start to finish would be live. And then I would take that recording and add everything else on top, offline, off camera, and then take the full recording back and record videos for all of the little background vocals. But I stopped doing, I haven't done the live video from start to finish in a while because I find it to be very stressful, especially back in the day because I had no vocal training, and so my voice was very unreliable. And so I would have to do take after take after take. And it was not fun. It would sometimes be even upsetting, you know, because I kept making mistakes and it would just make me feel like a terrible musician. And I don't think I was terrible, like looking back I think I was terrible. I was just completely untrained vocally. So yeah, I just rambled a bit. But that's how I record the videos where you don't see me wearing any headphones. And for the second part of your question, you say, and I'd like to know your general recording setup and why you did it that way, whether there's reverb. I'm not sure what you mean, pass-through or no pass-through, reverb in the pass-through. I'm not sure what you mean by pass-through, but what I do, and you can see if you're ever able to join us for office hours, I often record there. And what I do is I usually connect my guitar via an instrument cable and then my microphone. And I love recording the guitar and the vocal at the same time. And then if I make mistakes in the vocal, I go back and fix them, or on the guitar. But I do like having the natural flow of a simultaneous guitar and vocal performance, without the pressure of it having to be absolutely perfect. So I record like that, and usually I have all my effects. I have like a compressor and I have the reverb, everything that I can hear while I am recording. I hear those effects, but they are not recorded. They are simply in the monitors, just in my headphones. I personally like to record this way, where I can hear my effects very similar to what they will sound like in the finished product, just because it's what I've been doing for many years and I have gotten used to it. Some people, this is something Andy Bobandi brought up during one of the office hours, some people do prefer to record while recording, to keep all the signals absolutely dry so that you can actually hear and analyze the performance in its true form, you know, without any added help from effects. But I find that for the things that I do personally, I just really like to sing with the effects on in the monitor, but I'm careful not to record them just so that I can change them later if I feel differently about the kind of sound that I want. And the next question is from Mulmud. Hi Mulmud, I hope you're doing well. Well, there's several questions. Number one is Malu's favorite music and musicians. This changes. This changes. But well, I guess that the common thread in any music that I like, whether it's folky music, whether it's rock or metal music or anything, I think the common thread among all styles is that I am very drawn to melodies that are Irish or Celtic like medievally. I really like those melodies. I don't know, like Dragonborn comes. Or if, for example, if you hear I Follow the Moon, that little instrumental part near the end of the song, it's like those kinds of melodies because I find them so uplifting that they just put me in a good mood, and I really enjoy listening to them. I think it's the one thing that always makes me stop and pay attention to whatever is playing. Favorite musicians, well, my favorite singer is Dolores O'Riordan, rest in peace, from the Cranberries, and I really love the songs that she and her band wrote. What else? Favorite musicians. The thing about my favorite musicians is that they are usually, I said this somewhere before, it's usually something attached to specific albums rather than maybe a band's entire discography. Because, for example, I'll tell you what some of my favorite albums are. One of them is called Mare de Noms, I'm saying it wrong, but by the band A Perfect Circle. This album to me is like just perfect. It's so beautiful and so powerful, and I feel that I love the music, I love the performance of it, I love the production of it, the sounds, and it's just, to me, it's like I wish I could work on something like that. But for example, with this band, The Perfect Circle, I know that album by heart super well. I don't know any other albums because I listened to them at some point, but there was nothing that I grabbed onto as much as this one particular album. The same thing happened to me, for example, with the band Incubus. I love Light Grenades, the album Light Grenades. I love it. Again, another album that I know by heart, but outside of that, I know a few songs here and there. But that's, I think that's how I have my favorite musicians attached to albums. And I have to say, another favorite musician is Jack Black, because I know that he acts like a fool and he's comedy and everything, but he has an incredible voice, and I think he has incredible musicianship as well. That's another album that I think is brilliant, the Tenacious D album. What else? Who else? I'm gonna have to keep thinking about this. This answer is complicated. Okay, we'll move on to question number 2. Malmod asks, what do engineers and masterers and producers do? Okay, so I would love to make a video about this more in detail, but the too long didn't read is the fact that producers are usually in charge. I'm speaking in very general terms. Producers are usually in charge of helping shape the concept of an album. The producers are supposed to be in the studio going, no, get another take, that one was kind of iffy, or no, that's the right direction, let's do another take, and kind of managing the recording sessions, and so to overall make sure that the vision of the album becomes a reality. The engineers, you can split them. Sometimes they're the same person, but it's recording engineer and there's a mixing engineer. And so the recording engineer is the person that is running, you know, pushing all the buttons in the mixing board, and he's also in charge of setting up all of the mics. The engineer decides how they're going to pick up the sound, because where you put the microphones changes the character of the sound and of the instrument, and depending on the style, depending on the vocalist, all of these considerations that the recording engineer has to take care of, going with the producer's vision. So if the producer wants a really boomy guitar, the engineer needs to know where to place a mic to get that sound. So the engineer in the recording session gets all the multiple tracks from the drums, the bass, blah, 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 all of the instruments. The mix engineer takes all of those tracks and condenses them down into one final mix, which is a stereo track. So the mix engineer balances all of the levels, puts all of the effects, and then finally the master engineer. So recording engineer has all of the tracks, many tracks. The mixing engineer takes all of the tracks, narrows them down to 2. The mastering engineer gets the 2 tracks, the stereo tracks, and then edits that. He processes that. And what the master engineer does is takes that stereo track and adds whatever it needs in order to be radio ready, so or TV ready, movie ready. I think the most noticeable thing that a mastering engineer does is to raise the track volume so that it is comparable to other tracks out there, because usually in the recording studio or anything, you can end up with tracks a little bit quieter if you compare them to mastered commercial tracks. And so the mastering engineer brings it up to commercial volume. And it's not a matter of just lifting up a fader. It's a process using compressor and using a limiter and all of these techniques. And the mastering engineer can also sometimes EQ the track a little bit just to make sure that there are no troublesome frequencies in the track, that when you play it in several different places it will be boomy or boxy or shrill. And so yeah, and there's this whole no, it's this mastering, it's this whole ordeal. I would love to make a video more in depth about it because it's fascinating, and I'll look for the tracks from all of the above that I have a mastering comparison before and after, so that you can see what I mean about the volume level. Question number 3 is, how do you approach your delicious harmonies? By ear, basically. I have to say, I think that if I sit down and try to figure out the harmony, I probably could. May have to dust off my textbooks from music school, but it's by ear. I basically, when I have the main idea, the main melody, I listen back and my brain just kind of forms melodies around it. Some below, some above, and sometimes counter melodies, and it's always been my favorite part of the process. And I think the process itself is delicious. I like that you use that word because it's so awesome. Number 4, how do you I cannot talk. Number 4, how do you approach writing tunes, lyrics, instrumentals, accompaniments? Well, if it's a personal song, if it's something that I'm writing for myself, the idea usually starts from journaling. I try to write every morning, or write every day as well, just what's on my mind, or if there's like an issue that I'm going through or something that I am seeing, whether in my life or in society or the world or something, I try to write about it. And usually in writing those things, it brings up ideas that could be turned into songs, and that's usually how I start. For instrumentals, they usually happen when I am trying out sounds on my computer with my MIDI keyboard and everything, and I am listening and playing, and then all of a sudden I play something that my brain identifies as potential for a piece, and so I play that and I play that over, and then I try to hear what's the next part, and that's usually how instrumental tracks are made in my mind. And the accompaniment, I'm still working on that. I feel that it's something that I need to improve on. Usually I start with a main instrument and a one lead vocal, and then I record a main background vocal, so it's 2 vocals. Afterwards, I see if I can add layers here and there, or like a choir, a part with many vocals, just because that's my jam. That's my kind of sound that I like. And then I try to see if there are places for other instruments like percussion, maybe a bass. But I confess that it's something that I feel I could be better at, and I'm hoping to get better at. Thor's favorite napping spots, treats, and toys. Well, toys, he likes toys that squeak, definitely. Those are always his favorite. And I don't think, I'm trying to think, he had a Chewbacca toy that actually for years was his favorite toy. It's the first toy that he didn't immediately destroy, and it's still in the backyard right now, but it's, I just remember it's like laying on the grass. The other day I thought it was poop, but it's still there. It has no more of the squeezy thing, the squeaky things, because he took them out, and I had to be watching him. He was like biting the toy, took out the squeaky thing, and I was like, no, Thor, here, give the squeaky thing to me, because it's plastic. But yeah, so I think in Thor's history, that Chewbacca toy has been his favorite. Before that, it used to be a toy we called El Pato, the duck, and it was like a football-shaped plastic toy that squeaked very loudly. He loved that as well. Favorite napping spots. He likes sleeping. Well, sometimes he sleeps here in my room. I think his favorite place to sleep though is it's in our human bed, like in the main bedroom. Sometimes when I'm here working or streaming, he's there sleeping by himself. It's so funny. So I think I would have to say the human bed is his favorite napping spot. And treats, anything. He can eat anything. I think his favorite food outside of official dog treats is ham, because he like, whenever I am making a sandwich or something and he sees me take out the ham and start taking out the like peeling back the plastic and get the ham out and everything, he goes nuts. He loves ham. Yeah. So those are your questions, Mama. Thank you so much. And then the next question is from the Alp. Hello, the Alp. And he asks, I just wonder what does master mean in that context? So the master is, okay, in general, it's that one final stereo track that you will send out to get replicated on CD or vinyl. It is the track that you send out to radio stations, or it's like Spotify, iTunes. And the thing about it is that every platform, every medium has their own standards, and so the mastering engineer needs to know these standards. And for example, iTunes has its very own particular standard that you need to, I'll give you an example of what the difference is. If you have your mix, you're going to send it to iTunes, what you need to do according to the internet, you need to lower the volume of that mix almost by like a whole decibel, I think, because then when iTunes compresses it, it raises the volume. So if you send a mix that it's the loudest it can be, if you send that to iTunes, iTunes will compress it, it'll get louder and it'll get distorted. So yeah, so the master is basically like the thing that gets sent to different mediums to be replicated, or to different platforms like iTunes, Spotify, etc. The next question is from Wildest Hydra. Hello, Hydra. You have two questions. How do you write and be happy at the same time? That is a tricky question, Hydra, because I can interpret it in so many different ways. Because it's tricky for me, because I think for a very long time writing itself made me feel very, very emotional, to the point of I don't want to do it. I don't want to go near writing because it would like stir up all of these feelings. But what I think, what I feel about it now is that I am the kind of person that I always have 100 million different thoughts in my mind circling, and writing helps me get rid of some of them, because some thoughts are just not good to have running around and around and around. It's not that you have to deny them, that you have to say, oh no, I am not thinking this. No. Face it, write it down, acknowledge it, but then like get it out of your system. Get out all of the things that don't necessarily contribute to your happiness, and leave those on the paper, so that then you can carry on with less weight. That is how I see writing anyway. And sometimes, yeah, well, not sometimes, often people are like, Malukah, why do you always write such sad songs? Well, because I leave the sadness on the paper, and then I carry on without it. And I revisit it, sure, when I sing those songs, but it's with a much more different perspective, because writing those songs taught me whatever it is I needed to know in order to move forward. So while writing, it can be emotional, sometimes painful. Eventually, that pain stays behind. And eventually you can... I've managed to not feel any pain at all from things that I thought were the end of the world back in the day. I hope that makes more sense. The second question from Hydra is, do you have plans, dreams that would be cool to learn other instruments? Oh, Hydra, so many. So many, I don't even know where to begin. I have a cello in the closet outside of my studio. I started taking lessons for it. It's been my dream for a long time to learn how to play the cello. But it's just so tricky to learn because it's different from anything else that I've ever played before. So it's starting from zero. And when I started trying to take lessons a couple of years ago, I just didn't have the brain capacity at the time, but it's something I definitely want to revisit. That's my biggest dream, if I could play the cello. And those were the questions. Yay! If you have any more questions for me, let me know in the comments and I can make another of these videos. Thank you guys so much for watching, for making those questions, and I will talk to you very soon. See you Monday. Bye!